TV video at Family Dollar. Do you think that's your mom?
It absolutely was my mom. The jersey that she was wearing, she's probably had for over a year. It was just something that she would throw on a game day. She worked through the week, and Saturday was her day to go shopping. And I would assume that was why she was dressed that way.
Okay.
I know there's been some talk about people wearing white tights, but if I remember correctly, she had very Caucasian legs. So those are her white legs.
My mom would never wear tights anyway. She would wear pantyhose, but never tights.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. But
So for those who say it's not her, I mean, like, you think it's definitely 100%?
It's definitely my mom. If you know my mom and her body type, her hair, you would know it's my mom without a shadow of a doubt. I don't care if a visor was covering her face. I know without a shadow of a doubt that's my mom, and I don't understand. I don't get where that's coming from.
Okay. Now, after she went back out into the parking lot, she was there for a little bit before she left, and people have asked if we would ask you what you and your mom were talking about when you were on the phone with her in that parking lot.
I wasn't on the phone with my mother. I'm not sure why she was there for the amount of time that she was. Excuse me. But no, I didn't speak on the phone with my mother at all on Saturday. We had exchanged some texts prior that day, but I didn't speak to her on the phone at all that day.
So there's been some talk about the text to Jeffrey not going through, and then the Venmo. Do you know when those were sent? Like, did she send the Venmo in the parking lot and then the text later, or was it a different order? Like, how did that? Which one was sent first?
To my understanding, she had texted my brother actually first, and then I had received I'm sure the whole world can go back and look, but the Venmo that I had received was at 3:17. Yeah, 3:17 p.m. But yeah, it was in that order.
Okay. Now the Venmo is one of the biggest things and the biggest questions that we got. But I will tell everybody we're gonna skip that for a second because I want to just focus on that in a different section so that we can talk through that completely, and we're not trying to put it in the middle of this. So, like I said, we'll talk about that in a bit. There isn't any record or anything that we've seen or read where she had sent anything to Steve. Do you have any idea why that may be?
I'm definitely not gonna sit here and act like or say anything derogatory about my stepdad. He has been very supportive. He's listened to me. We kind of cried together even. That I can't answer. But I do know that her children have always been the main focus in her lives and the two people that she loved the most. So, I mean, I guess maybe that's why.
Yeah. And babe, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt whenever. So police came out and initially said it was deliberate and intentional and led everybody to believe it was homicide. They later came back and kind of walked that back a little bit, saying that it may not have been murder. You've come out and said that you believe it was suicide, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And kind of, if you don't mind, like what is leading you to that conclusion?
I'm not. There are key intimate things that were shared with me that I don't feel. I'm not in place in authority to say things and then, be accused that I'm lying or, my opinion just doesn't really matter. I feel like at this point, but no one saw her that day prior on Friday. There were actions. My mom was like giving away things that, now looking back on, I'm like, well, that was weird. She had made some comment. It just almost seemed like she was giving me all of her things. There was some comments that she had made. She had taken that whole week off, the week of this happening off from work. And it's Friday. I said, Mama, it's getting Friday. You're going to go back to work on Monday. And she she says to me, "Yeah, I can't wait." And I was like, "Mama, what kind of sense does that make? Like, who looks forward to going back to work?" And she said nothing, and it was just the saddest. I mean, even when I seen her Friday, you know, because we hadn't seen each other in a minute, I saw tears in her eyes. I'd never seen her that sad. I kept asking her, you know, "Mama, are you okay? Are you okay?" And it's funny, when she had left the house, um, she wouldn't even tell me goodbye. Um, you know, just looking back on these things, to me, I just wish I would have, you know, I mean, it's not that I didn't say, "Hey, Mama, what's going on?" But I think she was dealing with stuff that she didn't burden me with. I mean,
Yeah, and but that's Candace, that's kind of that's not uncommon.
No, not at all. I think a lot of times that is why it's so hard for people when a loved one does die by suicide to get through the denial phase because they either saw no indication whatsoever or there were things that they didn't see at the time that they're looking back and thinking, "Oh my goodness." And it's so hard for them because they start thinking they should have seen it. And so that upsets them and they just automatically are like, "No, that couldn't have been it." But you don't know. Like, you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going through somebody's head. I mean, people seem very, very happy up until the last minute sometimes. I mean, you couldn't have known.
my mom was so strong too. I mean, I can't stress. I
Yeah.
mean, she's the toughest woman I've ever met. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased, or maybe I am biased, but I just never in a million years.
And
Sorry.
you don't have to apologize for being upset. Just a couple other questions that some people had about that. One was people were asking if, you know, she was attempting to make it look like foul play for, you know, life insurance purposes.
To my knowledge, there is no life insurance policy. I mean, I don't really know or think whatever who else thought would make you think that's your business, but I think the reason my mother, the Venmo text read the way that it read was because she knew that I battled with mental health, some pretty serious mental health issues myself, and I think maybe she just said those things to make maybe the acceptance of it easier. Anyway.
Yeah.
And some have also asked if you have any ideas as to why she was so far away from home to you know, to complete suicide. Like why she didn't do it closer to home or in a different area. Why was she there? Do you have any ideas as to why?
I don't know. Maybe she thought. I mean, there's no way she couldn't have. It couldn't have crossed her mind that I wasn't going to do everything that I could to try to find her. I'll never believe that. But I mean, honestly, I don't know.
You know, for a lot of people, they don't want to ruin a place for somebody or a situation. So, you know, I wonder if it was that she thought, you know, if I do this here in my home or in our hometown, they're always going to associate this place with that. And it's going to be hard for them to interact around here. And people are going to talk about it and hear about it. And so she went far enough away that she thought it would stay private. Little did she know that it came about the way it did, that it blew up in the news.
Unfortunately,
She
I
would
don't know.
never have
Never.
left you being accused of this ever.
My mom would be very ashamed
Yes.
of people that have cyberbullied me. She'd be rolling over in her grave right now.
Absolutely.
But anyway.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question only because it was asked by a few people. Is your mom making meth in the forest?
Oh my God. No. That one I actually laughed at. My mom's never done drugs a day in her life. Whoever said that and started that, you're a horrible person. I can't help that. But no, absolutely not. My mom had back problems. She struggled with back problems her entire life. And sorry. I mean, she took the medication that was prescribed to her, but no.
Okay. I didn't think so. I didn't think that was the thing, but
yeah,
people have asked, so I just wanted to make sure, because we did get a ton of questions and we did our best to kind of put these together so that way we could get through as many as possible, but there were a lot, but I wanted to make sure, because that one was asked a few times. I wanted to make sure we cleared that up. I want to kind of go on to you on that day, the things that you did and that. But so we're going to get to Venmo in just a minute. I know that's probably what everybody wants to know, but the message was sent at 3:17 according to records. So when did you see it?
It's about 5 o'clock.
Okay. And everybody, they want to know, like, why did it take you so long to see the message?
I was, you know, I mean, as most of you all know, I'm so sorry. I got makeup in my eyes from crying. I was cleaning. I was steam cleaning my carpets. And I'd stopped, you know, because me and my mom normally go back and forth all day. I was like, you know what? It's been a minute. I hadn't heard from her. And I don't know. I don't know. I just had some sort of feeling over me. I mean, to be completely honest, because it was weird. So, you know, I checked my phone and there was a message.
And so there's some speculation about the timeline between when you saw the message and when the 911 call was made, and kind of some of the things that you did between those times, like going to look for her versus making the 911 call, or making the 911 call going to, you know, look for her. So, like, after you got that message, can you just kind of walk us through you know, what you did next?
Well, first of all, I was in a complete state of terror, anger. I mean, I was a basket case because I didn't know what to think. I started calling Steve over and over and over again. I finally got in touch with him while I was on. I actually went over to my mom's house because, I mean, what I had just read, I didn't want to believe. Pretty much. What is that noise? Is that me?
No.
It's our schnauzer snoring under the desk.
My AirPods, they died, so I was like, "Is that mom?" Anyway, but you know, I went over there with him, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was screaming and yelling at him, "Where's my mama? Where's my mama? Where's my mama?" And it took a minute for us to both calm down and just to mentally kind of try to process what this is, you know, because neither one of us understood. And that's when we called the police.
Okay, so the phone call to 911 was made first, and then because there's some reports that you went to look for her at Ulta and Walmart. So for what I'm hearing, you're saying that you tried to get hold of Steve, you went to your mom's house, and then you called 911. So you weren't out searching for her for hours before you made the call?
No.
Okay. So I've listened to the 911 calls, and, you know, like, I will be honest, when I first heard of this case, I was on the side of that you did it. And I was there for a while. Just being honest with you.
I get it.
When I listened to the 911 calls, it didn't immediately change my mind. I thought, one, either that you were an amazing actress and like one of the most stone cold sociopaths ever, or that you were involved somehow, and that the gravity of what you had done, that those emotions were coming through in the 911 calls. Listening back to them several times, I don't obviously I don't think that anymore, but there are people that say those calls were scripted, like that you wrote them out and that you basically acted out, you know, a one act play with the 911 operator. So kind of like, what's your thoughts when you hear that?
You're a psychopath. There is something really wrong with this world. To try to pick apart, and I mean, this is cyberbullying on steroids. I mean, I'm sorry, maybe I'm getting off track, and I apologize, but I gotta put this out here. All my family turned against me, so I get it. I get thinking, you know, this girl's crazy, but you're horrible, awful human beings, and I pray that the trauma and the pain that I've had to go through when the police do make this press conference, which they told me that they will. I hope you don't do this to another family. There's no way. There's just no way I could have come up with all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's human nature to speculate, especially when we don't know what's going on. And let's be honest, like the details surrounding, your mom's case, I mean, it's not your average crime scene or your average anything. I mean, all this stuff's going on. So, I mean, people can speculate. And like I said, I was a firm believer that you did it. I just didn't tell anybody that except for Candace. But, you know, we kind of went back and forth on it for a little while, but I don't know why people would attack others like that, but to each their own. Another thing is the time law enforcement arrived at the scene versus when you did. There have been a lot of comments and a lot of questions asking how you beat law enforcement to the scene. So can you kind of like how did you get there so fast, or did you get there that fast? Like, just kind of walk us through that too, please.
Okay, so I woke up and checked my phone because I knew, I'm begging and pleading with my mother all night, answer the phone, just say something. And when I woke up and I didn't have anything on my phone, I knew, Amanda, you're gonna have to show your butt. You have to show your butt. Get somebody to listen to you. So, and I had tried the night before, but I called Enterprise. Enterprise was closed. At that moment, I mean, judge me all you want, but I didn't think to call roadside assistance. But I did Saturday morning. I first called their call center, and I pretended to be my mother. I have no problem saying that, because I thought, hey, if I call these people and I say I'm in trouble, they're going to send somebody out to me. Send somebody out to the van, get her help right now.
It's actually really good thinking. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm racking my brain, but
yeah,
people don't see that. They don't want to see it. But the girl that I talked to, she gave me the rental agreement number, and she said, you're going to have this to speak with roadside assistance. And I hung up. I called roadside assistance, and we kind of got into it because I guess they could obviously tell I wasn't my mother. I was like, look, someone's life's at danger. Like, I was saying anything and everything I could to get somebody to listen to me. And they basically, no, this is what ended the conversation. I said, GPS my van because I have a tire out on the van. And they tell me, well, this vehicle specifically doesn't have, I forget what they called it, but they said that the van didn't have it. So they could, triangulate where the van specifically was. So from there, I hung up and I called Athens Clark County Police Department. When I initially called, I said, look, I need to see the lead investigator on my mother's photo disappearance. I don't know the technical terms here, but the lady said there's no one that works on Sundays. Let me get you somebody. Let me get, I'll get somebody to call you back. Mr. Sergeant Johnson, I think he's a sergeant. Very nice man. I expressed to him, and I'm pretty sure that's what you guys heard. I expressed to him my situation. He agreed with me. He said, I definitely feel like something's going on here. Anyway, he took it very seriously. He told me, I'm going to try to keep you updated as much as I can. I don't remember. I guess it was about 11 o'clock. I want to say 10:30, 11 o'clock. Sergeant Johnson called me back and he said, hey, does your mom have a reason to be in Raven County? And then immediately I'm overtaken by terror. I then knew something was seriously wrong. I jumped in my car and I went as fast as I could to Raven County. It's about an hour and a half drive out there. And then I got another phone call from him. I pulled over. I saw that he was calling, and as I'm pulling over, I look at my GPS. I use Waze, and you know how it shows you where police are. As I'm answering the phone, I noticed that there were 2 cop cars not far from me. But I pull over and I take the phone call from Sergeant Johnson, and he says, "Okay, we found the van, and it's near a campsite, but I can't tell you where it is. I don't know specifically where it is, and not even 3, 4, 5, I don't know, 5 minutes. Excuse me, I'm going to stop right there for a moment. He said a campsite. I get on Google, and I'm Googling campsites. Anyway, I get back on the road, and I run right into these deputies. I saw the van. I got out of my vehicle, and I'm yelling and screaming. I said, "That's my mama's van. That's my mama's van." And that was, anyway, I asked the police officer, I said, because I don't know where I'm at. I asked him, I said, can I go? I've got to pee. And he tells me, it's just like, anyway, it's not even a quarter of half a mile, maybe down the road. And when I went, he said, look, there's not much. Well, I did speak with him for a minute. He said, we're calling, he said, we're going to get the K9 out here. And then we're also, if we don't find her within a reasonable amount of time with the K9, we are going to get a helicopter out here. And so I went to use the restroom. I came back. The K9 was there. He was already there. They were maybe in those woods 10 minutes. And the police officer came back and he said, come here. And I knew. Yeah, I've argued with him. I even hit his bulletproof vest a few times. I'm sorry. I didn't hit him, but he was just hugging me. I kept saying, "Where are you sure? Are you sure? How do you know?" And he wouldn't tell me anything. He just said, "Believe me, she's gone." Anyway, that is all the steps I took that day.
So what I'm hearing is like you were kind of doing your own, like, looking for your mom. And when you heard she was in a certain county, you just started heading that direction, which is the reason why there wasn't a huge difference between the time law enforcement got there versus when you got there, because you weren't staying at home.
Yeah.
You weren't at home when you got the call, right? Is that what you're saying?
I was determined I was going to find her. Anyway.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. You're fine.
You're fine. And how you reacted is completely normal. I mean, it's
I knew I would
something
get
you
down
don't
in
wanna-
that fight. Sorry, I interrupted you, babe.
No, you're fine. It's completely normal. I mean, the immediate response to hearing something like that is denial, and that comes out in fighting and yelling, and I mean, you go into a panic.
Law enforcement was so good to me, though. Obviously, you guys can see I've been on the other side a few times. But Habersham County really changed my opinion of law enforcement. So much that I got to get this out here. Family members, whatever, yada yada yada. Sit there and say, "Oh, I was there through everything." No, you weren't. Some of them weren't even in the state of Georgia at the time. But and I'm not going to name any names, but if you had been there, Mr. George Cason, and I'm sorry, Mr. Cason, but this man took my mother's passing seriously. He was fired up. I'm not going to repeat any of the things he was saying to me or whatever, but he genuinely acted like that was his mama out there. So, I mean, the criticism that law enforcement has been given, it had been for me.
And I mean, I would hazard a guess as to maybe that's why you're who they talk to. I mean, I don't
throughout all
speak out
this,
of turn, but
throughout all this, I've had family members, they didn't understand why no one was speaking to them. Well, maybe it was because I didn't harass them. Maybe, even, I'm not going to say they had their opinions of me in the beginning, but I wasn't worried about it. I knew that the truth was going to come out. And I told them, I said, y'all going to end up apologizing to me. And that's exactly what happened. But I mean, I really feel like law enforcement, I know for a fact they, because of some of the accusations that were made there by family members, again, not going to name any names, but they directly accused me of murder. And I mean, if I know anything about law enforcement, they're going to take any type of statements that are made and they're going to follow up on those statements.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. So, I think that's what made them look at me a little harder even. But, they've gone through those phone records. They have, one of the things in my apology that I'd gotten, they said, we've asked certain people, key things about your mother, intimate things about your mother. And they were like, nobody else can seem to answer them. and we've seen who was closest to her, and this is why we're speaking to you. And family members wanted to say, "Oh, well, you told them me." That's not the case. I will go on here and say the police don't owe you anything. I mean, they don't owe the public an explanation for their actions. They don't. I mean, nobody in this world owes you anything. That's just the way I've been raised, and I've been raised to be tough. With that being said, but
But and just to make sure I understand, I know you're saying law enforcement is communicating with you, but before that, they considered you a suspect, correct?
yeah, oh yeah, I was interrogated. Well, I was spoke to Sunday night, and then Monday, while a search warrant was being given, that key family member accused me of murder, and the next thing I know, I'm in a cop car being taken away for an interrogation. They asked me if I would, and I agreed. I was compliant. I went willingly. But I guess it was about 6 weeks after. Anyway, whenever the memorial was, it was right before the memorial. We had a confidential interview with each other, and that's when me and law enforcement got back on a good page with each other.
But they did several searches and hours of checking into your alibi and searching your home. And
if you don't believe me, I mean, y'all have harassed the cops enough, call them. I don't know what to say to you. That's your problem.
I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but I mean,
No.
that's a fair statement I would make. And I mean, did you submit like DNA? Did you do anything like that? Or
Thank you, Jason. In that Sunday night when oh my goodness gracious, the redhead investigator, whoo, she got in my face. She said, "You killed your mother." Anyway, it's very traumatic. But I mean, I guess she was doing her job, but she attacked me. Right after that, I said, "I want to give you my DNA. Take it. I don't want an attorney. I don't take my DNA." And the very next day, they're at my house with a search warrant, and that's when I willingly gave my DNA. Andrew actually gave his DNA. I want to say it was either that day or the next day. We willingly gave it to law enforcement.
You're better than me. I'd ask for an attorney immediately. You're not getting anything from me, but that's just me personally. No matter what happens, I need an attorney because I don't know. I would, and just that alone would make me look guilty, and I'd be just fine with that. But I'm not doing anything without an attorney. So, and I mean, I think it's good that they didn't just talk to you for a second and then, okay, you're good. Like it sounds like they weren't exactly like your best friend, and they shouldn't be.
No, they shouldn't. He had a job to do. They had a job to do, and I respect that. I think that's the difference here. I respect law enforcement. They've been good to me. I think it's a respect thing.
Okay. So let's talk about Venmo.
Okay.
So obviously, when you got the message, you were saying that you were a lot of emotions, like confused, all that stuff. You didn't know what's going on. But I think the bigger question right now is, where's the money?
I am in possession of it. My accounts, there were weird things going on my account. I don't, whatever. I guess it was frozen. But I do know that the GBI, the FBI, they've all been involved, and recently it's been released to me. So
at one point they had it seized, and then you're saying they gave it back.
Yep. Think what you want.
Well, I mean, I think that says a lot because I even spoke to a prosecutor about this and asked them, is that typical? And, their response, just like I thought, was that no, if it is seized, anything seized during an investigation is not going to be returned unless that investigation is closed, because there's always that chance that it was involved in criminal activity, and that a lot of times, even if you're cleared, they don't want to give it back. So, I mean, the fact that you got the money back, I think, is amazing. And to me, just the fact that they released that money to you, even after the FBI looked through it, says that there was no criminal activity involved with any of that, or they wouldn't have given it to you.
I mean, I guess everybody thinks Habersham County is just a bunch of hillbillies, and I outsmarted, local law enforcement, the GBI and the FBI. But I mean, I guess thank you for your confidence. I'm not really sure what to do with that, but again, I don't know what to say.
Any idea what, like, it's such a weird amount. Like, any idea, like, I mean, between the message and the amount,
right.
everything else, like it's I think it's a big part of why there's so much, people on one side versus the other side. It just, this Venmo, it's very crazy.
One of my favorites was Annie. Oh my goodness gracious, you look like a pterodactyl, sweetheart. But wanted to say it aligns with my birthday. It's what Andrew owed at a rehab facility. Okay, well, first of all, the charge was related to marijuana. You don't go to a rehab facility for marijuana, not in my mind. And Andrew was never sentenced to go to a rehabilitation center. So y'all, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs made that up. Sorry.
Well, and we even
I'm
showed
angry.
it.
I'm angry, y'all.
Understandably. And we even showed at one point that the dollars were not adding up. Like, they were coming up with all these equations to where it had to be the exact amount that Andrew owed. And, we pretty much debunked that whole theory. And instead of admitting, some YouTubers, instead of admitting that they were wrong, they just kind of doubled down and sent the info to Fox. And then, of course, Fox ran with it, which I think kind of hurt, because then, Fox has a pretty long reach. And so that got out to the entire world that, that's why you got that amount of money.
Yeah, because you were actually on the couch and pulled those records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard
it
to
wasn't
find.
difficult to find that money didn't match that. I mean, but it still is we're all still like, what? It's bewildering.
It is an automatic, like
is.
it's not an even number, so it is kind of out
I mean, you
there.
can understand why people would be like, what is going on there? She, with such an odd amount, I'm sure a lot of people think that you should know exactly what it was for, but you're saying you have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would imagine with such an odd amount, it might have been like just what was left in the account, or
That's what my thoughts were.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it's going to be one of those things that I don't think we're ever going to have a real answer for. I mean, it's just.
Only she knows that.
Yeah. So let's go on to you being a suspect or not being a suspect. You've said you're not. So what exactly, like, what brings you to that conclusion that you're not a suspect in this any longer?
Well, because the GBI told me. I said, I'm not going to name his name because really just don't feel like that's my place. But he's very kind to me. Anyway, it came out of his mouth, and he told me I would have my day when it was all said and done. That because they were upset by the way not only they were treated, but the way I've been treated. And they wanted to, obviously I kind of felt like they haven't done it as quickly as I've wanted it, because I'm obviously here with y'all, but because they said it. Because they said it.
Now, there still will be a lot of people that won't believe you, and it'll take law enforcement saying it before they believe you, and still, even after they say it, I mean, it's just the world we live in. There's still going to be people that don't believe it. But do you have any indication or any idea when they're going to make any kind of announcement or say anything about this?
No, a family member, I guess you could say she's close. They tried calling the week of the memorial because I guess they were upset because of the way that was leaked or yada yada yada. They kept saying that I had something to do with the way they were sharing information, yada yada yada. But oh my goodness, I forget even what you asked me. I'm so upset, y'all. Where was I going with that?
Well, we were just curious if you knew when any kind of announcement was going to be made,
Oh,
even if it's not a full announcement, just kind of a, hey, this is what we know. This is who we know didn't have anything to do with anything like that. Any kind of update.
I kind of felt. I'm so sorry, Jason. They told, I guess you could call it, a close family. They told her that they were waiting on 2 reports to come back. And I think now, I thought law enforcement had the intention of making this information public, but I had another family member, I guess, was highly upset and offended because no one spoke to them. Again, nothing to do with me. They went out and publicly attacked law enforcement. So I feel like they, just prolonged me being cleared. They don't care. My family does not care. But they handed it off to the FBI, maybe, just to cross their T's and dot their I's.
So you just get to remain who you are right now until they make an announcement. Oh, well.
Yeah.
But from what you're saying, I mean, once they do make that announcement, then hopefully your life will go back to some kind of normalcy. So social media it's a great time, no matter what's going on. And you've been relatively quiet on it, which, I mean, I think that's the right thing to do. If I was in your situation, I wouldn't talk to anybody. But Andrew's been on there a little bit. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, I don't really have any kind of opinion about it. His heart was in the right place. Maybe he got upset with a certain people, but it was only because it wasn't about him personally. I don't think it was more about. Sorry, that's him. Don't talk to me again, please. I'm trying. Sorry, Paul. I think it was more. Nobody was defending me publicly, and he was tired of me being attacked, and he felt like the one person that should have been there, should have publicly came out and defended me, was the one that accused me of it. And all his feelings put to the side, all the garbage in the past, personal vendettas, that's not even what this is about. I feel like there's just been so much of, I hate Andrew. Andrew's a bad person. Let's jump on that bandwagon. Let's do this. Let's do that. When all you've done is taken away, the attention off my mother, which is what should have been the main focus. Just like family members, one of them showed up to the memorial and made it all about herself. Insulted my best friend. I can count on. I had 6 people in this entire ordeal. I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant, but I had 6 people in this entire ordeal, including you guys, that had been supportive of me. And, my friend April, I'm not going to say her last name, but my best friend April, 20 years, believed me the entire time. But he was, to answer your question, he was upset because he felt like the people that should have been there for me weren't. They were nowhere around. People can criticize him all they want, but he's been there for me. So I don't care what your opinions are. Anyway, there you go. I know that was a really long drawn out answer, but
I mean, your answer is your answer. You did bring up the memorial service, and some people have asked what was it like being around family and knowing that, some of them accused you and some of them have specifically asked what it was like between you and Jeffrey at the memorial service.
It was the most awkward thing that I've ever experienced. The way Jeffrey set that all up is I was allowed 3 guests. That was my best friend, her husband, and her child. So I had 3 people there. But, you can call them family. They're people I'm related to, aside from one aunt, my Aunt Sheila. But the rest of them, they all thought I did it. They all came out and told me to my face they think I did it. Some of them lied about it. Candace, I think you know what I'm talking about. But they lied about it. And then, there were the looks from older parties that were invited. And it was terrifying. It was horrible. I had to get up there and make a speech in front of me, I guess, giving my last respects or whatever to my mother, and everybody's sitting there thinking I did it. It was it took a lot.
I can only imagine. And I know, my dad passed away a couple of years ago, different circumstances completely, but I know that there was some semblance of closure that finality of it that day at the funeral. And I mean, Jason was there, he knows. So I can't imagine not having that closure, not having been able to get up there and feel those things and, honor her memory and all with everything else going on.
They actually left me out a lot of stuff. I offered to pay for certain things, and I mean, they did take some of my suggestions into consideration in the memorial, and but I mean, that was it. That was the only kindness I was shown. I was even the bigger person. I felt like I was supposed to go second to last and speak, and I think the traditional order was, like the husband, the oldest, but they went backwards. But it was okay. I was supposed to speak second to last, and I let my brother go ahead of me because I was trying to be the big person. But I'm glad I went last because mine was the better speech anyway. None of them were sincere, but whatever. I'm rambling, but I'm my feelings are hurt.
Well, I mean, you've held all this in for a very long time. So all of these weeks and weeks and weeks that everyone else has been able to, daily or weekly put their
Yeah.
thoughts out there, you're trying to get all of this out in a live stream at one time. So, I mean, that makes sense. You're trying to let it all out with these questions. So that makes sense. And I hope people are understanding of that. Surely.
We'll see, I guess.
Now I know there was some things going around about the celebration of life service and when it was scheduled for. Did you have any there's some, I don't know, I just want to clear it up. Like from what I understand is you postponed it or law enforcement talked to you about. I don't know, just something like that. Can you clear it up for me because I'm clearly confused.
I don't know. You're not the only one confused. So law enforcement reached out to me. I mean, they didn't know when I was having a memorial. How were they supposed to know that? But in the interview that I had with them, the only thing I had asked, and I don't know how it came out. I really don't. But the only thing I'd asked them is I didn't want to taint the day of the celebration. I wanted to leave that Saturday about positive thoughts about, her life and love. And, that's the only thing I asked. I said, just please do it after the memorial.
And when you say do it after, is that when police kind of backed off of the homicide and when they said it?
Yes.
Okay. So they came and talked to you about it and before they announced it?
Yes.
So, okay.
They gave me that.
I feel like it had to be kind of a little bit of a shock then when all this time since then has passed and they still haven't come out and done that. It's like, okay, you were going to wait till that happens. So what now?
I think a lot of that has to do with my brother. Sorry, I'm not trying to call you out there, bro, but he's just prolonging it. I mean, I've already done what I guess he thinks he's doing. I guess in his mind he thinks, oh, well, I'm making sure she got a fair case. No, bro, I've already done that. The day that it happened, law enforcement was like, well, was there mental health issues? Was there mental health issues? No, my mind, I didn't realize my mom's depression was as bad as it was. So I fought them on that. I'd already said there was no mental health issues, which, that brought more attention onto me. I didn't just say, hey, yeah, it's mental health, I wanted it to be investigated thoroughly. I'm sorry. I hope that answers your question.
No, I mean, I think it does. I mean,
I'm sorry.
No, and Candace, for you, like when somebody does complete the act of suicide, I would imagine that people don't have the same reaction to it, and they don't accept it, or they don't want to believe it, or like how does that work? Like, have you worked with clients like that before?
Oh yeah, and it's, I mean, when people have a family member or friend that has struggled, like they see them struggling with, a certain diagnosis or certain things, then they tend to, take it a little easier. sometimes it's really hard though when you don't see it, or you thought, okay, well, they were a little sad sometimes, but I mean, who thinks that? Like, nobody thinks that. So I think for
I
some
didn't want
people, yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think people go into denial. And I think also, and I don't want to say this in the wrong way and speak out of turn, but I think that some people, when they feel guilt about their own actions, they have a harder time accepting it, because then that means they have to accept that they left that relationship that way before being able to reconcile. And I think that makes it harder for them to get to that place where they can have acceptance.
And I would imagine too that with the details of this case and just how bizarre it is, I mean, I would imagine that would play some kind of role in like when you actually do accept it, or if you ever truly accept it. I mean, I wouldn't think that. I mean, because most, some people have trouble with just, I don't want to say normal suicide because that's a terrible thing to say, but when there's so many things that go into this, and I'm sure law enforcement is doing everything they can, but not coming out and speaking more. I'm sure they're waiting until they get everything they need before they say anything, but not saying anything kind of prolongs everything, whether it be, people who are still considered suspects versus what actually happened, and people being able to move on. But that's
mean,
just me with my non-therapist background.
I have a personal opinion, but I don't know if this is what it is. So it's just completely my personal opinion. From everything that's come about, it seems to me as if the police are at that conclusion. And I think the autopsy's back. They're waiting on toxicology, and that could take a long time. And I think that they don't want to speak until they can answer every question, because they know, especially now after some of the criticism, they're going to get hammered in that press conference with questions.
Yeah.
And if they were to go up there and say, well, we know that she died by suicide. Okay, but how? Well, we don't know because tox screen's not back. How do you say that? So I think that they're waiting on that to come back so they can say, okay, it was this that did it, or this, that did, like it was insulin or pain or whatever it was.
Whatever.
Yeah. And I think that unfortunately every week that goes by, they're thinking that tox screen's coming back. So they're ready. They're like, yeah, we're coming out. We're going to let everybody know. And then before they know it, another week's went by and they still haven't been able to come out, on live TV or whatever, and clear her and give any answers. And it's so unfortunate though.
Yeah, and I'm just concerned too that some of the details we're not going to have answers for.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, and that's also a little, worrisome, because obviously you want everything to be nice and tied up with a bow, and we know exactly what happened, but I don't know if that's going to happen here. One other question that people are asking, and I will just tell you that even when I was team Amanda definitely did this, this still made absolutely no sense to me. But your move back from Maryland to Georgia just a couple of days before your mom passed, like, for me, when people were saying that was suspicious, in my mind, you got to be a special kind of stupid to do that. So,
Right.
and I'm telling you, and that's when I was on the other side. That's when I thought I thought you had something to do with it. And even that, I was like, that makes absolutely no sense. But why did you come back?
Well, there were a number of things. Number one, I miss my mama. The problems that my brother and I had, he pretty much disowned me. I'm not going to go into that, but he was done with me. And I was just like, oh my God, I left my mama for this. Like, I could have stayed in Georgia for this crap. But I had a slow like sewage leak in my apartment, on top of see, I didn't live in the same apartment complex with my brother.
I've been putting bad info out because I thought you did. That's my bad.
Yeah, no, he lived 9 minutes away. But,
Okay.
So you're one of the problems, Candace.
I am. I thought it was the same complex. That's my bad.
Oh no, that's what law enforcement said.
Gotcha.
That wasn't you. Which is fine, whatever. But her sister and her boyfriend lived above me, and they really kind of played off my mental disorder. Told the landlord I was crazy, this, that, and the other. I'm not going to go over that, but it was just really horrible. I couldn't sleep a lot of nights because it was 87 degrees inside my house. I was tired of the drama. I was tired of being made to feel bad for just trying to live my life for myself. I was tired of being told what I should and shouldn't do when my name is on a lease. There was that. My job at the time was, y'all all know, Habitat for Humanity, there was really nothing wrong there. But my best friend, April, she contacted me one day and she was like, girl, I see and I hear you're miserable. I'm a recruiter. I can send, I guess I got myself the job, but it kind of get your foot in the door and forward that resume, and she did do that for me. And, just by knowing somebody, I got a really good paying job. It was almost $6 more than I was currently making per hour. And that was another reasoning. But that night, I drove through the night, Wednesday night. Just, I don't know what. I kept asking them to not turn the air off, AC off, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put it out there. When you have bipolar disorder, if you don't get the correct amount of sleep per night, it messes with you mentally.
It does.
And it was just that stress. I miss my mom. It was causing me problems at my job. Not problems, but I was making mistakes, and my mind's all over the place with stuff. And it just, my best friend was being supportive. My mom was being supportive. I do want to touch on this too. There was stuff out there that my mom was scared of Andrew. They might have had their disagreements or whatever. I mean, what family doesn't? I mean, that's just whatever. Our arguments were before. I'm jumping all over the place, but I want to touch on that for just a second. Andrew's not a bad person. Our relationship is not what the media is seeing. Part of our problem was me. Part of the problem was I wasn't diagnosed. I don't know if Candace, I'm not putting you in this bucket, but bipolar disorder. Where was I even going with this?
I'm guessing you were going to say runs in families.
Yeah, I mean, I was. I guess let me go into this tangent real fast. You can see arrests. My first arrest, I was 7 months pregnant and lost my child. Due to the birth weight of my child, it was considered a miscarriage. A lot of people in society don't recognize women that go through that.
True.
And I went off the handle. I'd never lost anything in my life. It really hurt my mother, especially. She was the only person there for me. Being a grandma was, and looking back on it, I don't even think she realized how much it hurt her. But that's what really, that loss is what, I mean, according to my psychologist now, it's really kind of what set off that bipolar disorder, because you're not technically, to get a diagnosis, you have to be at least 20 years old. From the studies I've personally done myself on bipolar disorder, you don't really get that kind of diagnosis until you're like 20-ish. But I went through life not knowing what was wrong with me. I got in really bad states of depression. I wallowed in my own pain for about 8 years. I had substance abuse issues. Think what you want, I don't really care. That was one of the things my mama promised me. She was like, "You're not coming back to Georgia, Amanda. If you can't promise me, you'll be clean." I don't care what anybody has to say. I made that promise to my mother. I'm gonna keep it. But where was I going with all this? I'm an emotional wreck. But once I was diagnosed in August, my life made sense. The substance abuse made sense. Some of the jobs I lost or quit, for that matter, made sense. Unless there's tons of people that have bipolar disorder, but until you have lived a day in my brain, you don't know what it's like to wake up and not be able to go to work because you don't understand what's going on with yourself. So yeah, I struggled for a lot of years. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in August of last year, and I turned my life around. Nobody else is going to take that from me. I don't care what anybody else has to say. I got a good job in January. I got my life together. Andrew and my mother both supported me. Now, and I'll go back to that argument, but I saved up the money. I bought a car. I saved up money to move to Maryland. I mean, just what drug addict has $4,500 laying around?
Yeah.
I'm not, and I will admit, I struggled there for a second with my substance abuse. I struggled for about, probably from August to December, and I just sat myself down one day and I got help. I need to
And
know what's wrong with me.
it's very common for people to self-medicate because all they know is they're hurting. And when you're hurting that bad, you'll do anything to make it stop. And people being judgmental of that. Sorry, I'm not used to this being family we talk to where I have an emotional connection.
It's okay, babe.
But I mean, people are very judgmental about things they don't understand. But I see clients every day that struggle with substance abuse and they don't know why. And then we get them a diagnosis and a good regimen of medication, and it turns their life around.
I'm successful. Let me put that out there. I'm very successful. I do very well for myself. I'm not going to go into where I work, but I just work 4 12-hour shifts.
And for that job, and because there's people that still believe that you are, on drugs, but I would assume that you've had to submit to drug tests to get the job, right?
Yeah. I will say this much: the interaction that I have with others in my profession, there ain't no way I would come to work high and somebody wouldn't notice.
Most definitely.
Whatever.
Well, and I imagine too, from my experience working with people that struggle with bipolar disorder, when you're manic, you get angry very easily and you overreact very easily.
Oh my gosh.
So I can see how that would have led to a lot of what people are seeing as all this domestic violence. I mean, it was probably manic episodes where you're losing your temper, and Andrew's like, "What the heck?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this crazy lady?"
Yeah, no, I mean, he's not a bad guy. And if you want to sit, I'm not talking about y'all, but judge him however you want. He doesn't care anymore.
Well, I will say this: any guy that can deal with a beard is a saint. Because I live with one, so I know Andrew. Like I know the pain he goes through.
I'm sure he'd greatly appreciate it. But he's been here. You don't know what it's like to be bullied, be robbed of the emotions that I should have been able to feel, and I wake up every day with some new nonsense. I just really hope me speaking, like you said, Jason, it's not gonna matter me saying if I'm not guilty or I am, but I just I'm sorry. People are gonna think what they want to think,
Well, we just wanted to give you an opportunity to speak. I know that we hadn't pressured you to come on here. We we were just like, hey, if you ever want to talk, come on here and talk, because to be quite honest, I don't trust news media. So and that's why if something ever happened to me, that's another I'm not talking to them either. But I just hope that some people can at least, even if they still believe that you are guilty of something, hopefully they at least see you as a human. And hopefully we can, the toxicology comes back or whatever they're waiting on, and these announcements can be made, so that way you can move on and you can grieve the way you need to grieve, and all of this stuff can. That's
fine.
You're good. You're all right.
Okay, I'm good.
Bless your heart.
But
You're fine.
we just and Candace and I mean, we weren't going to even talk about this case, and just out of respect for family. But the reason we did was not to prove your innocence or prove your guilt. The only thing we were focused on was, hey, we don't have all the evidence. Let's not just immediately jump on one person. So that, I mean, that's really the reason we started this, because
Yeah, I mean, I've heard several people say they're just trying to boost their YouTube, which is funny because we don't even monetize our YouTube. Like, I mean, I work 40 hours a week. I don't. This is not my money maker. But my thought was when
You have a life.
but you're fine. But I first said, out of respect to family, I'm not covering this. But a couple weeks, few weeks, whatever went by, and I just kept seeing the bashing without facts. And I told him, I said, I cannot take it anymore. I said, we have a platform. Like, I mean, we don't have 10 million subscribers, but if I can't use the platform I have to help my own family, what's the point? Like, what's the point?
But at the same time, you did say that if we go down this road and it turns out that this is what she said, I'm gonna bust her out. I mean, when we started this and we were going down this road, she did say, but if I find out, but hold on, because she did say, if I find out that she's lying and she did have something to do with it, I'm gonna bury her ass under the jail myself. So, but just so you know, like
I can't blame you.
we're still in the middle when we started.
Everybody's got my address.
Right.
Well,
Thanks
I
to Fox
hadn't.
News.
Oh, God, yeah, I hadn't seen Debbie in years, but I just remember her always being so happy and smiling. And I mean, I legit can hear her voice in my ears. And when they played one of her calls and I heard it, it was the exact same thing I'd been hearing for weeks. And it's just, she's the only person who ever called my Uncle Joe Joseph. And I just hear her, Joseph? Joseph. Now, Joseph. Don't say that, Joseph. I mean, just, I don't know. She just was, I don't know. She's so bubbly.
Yeah, she was such a happy person. I mean, it didn't matter what, she didn't even talk about herself most of the time. We only really had that kind of relationship, but she was just all about trying to make somebody else happy, put a smile on somebody else's face, cheer somebody up. I mean, I've outside of the memorial or whatever, people, it's only been a few because everybody thinks I'm a killer, but they'd be like, "Oh my God, your mom, she was there for me. We were so close. She helped. She was a good friend to me, and that's who my mom was. Man, just
No.
if she could help somebody, she was gonna do it."
Well, you went dark, which I totally get because who wants to hear all this? But because you went dark on social media, I've gotten message after message after message, and I've gotten so many messages from people that were like, I knew Debbie from here, I worked with Debbie or this or this or this. And they do. They just have the most wonderful things to say.
She was a good person.
I'm sorry. I feel like I don't want to upset you.
She was just, I won't ever meet another woman like her.
No, but I promise it will get easier.
And Sandy Todd, you are a horrible, horrible person. And I tell you what, you got my address. I would love to give you a real warm welcome. Please. I want to have a family reunion. Please. How dare you disgrace my mother's name? You took away someone that meant the world to my mother. And I am referring to my uncle. You have no room to talk. I'm sorry, y'all. You have no room to talk.
I'm not going to say very much out of, we've done this whole talk, and the only one person I've heard from is Sandy, and that was to basically cuss me out. And then she just deleted all the messages, so you can't see that she said any of that to me. I was like, well, all right, I guess we're not for you. It is what it is.
How dare you attack? And that was another thing, I wanted to hit with my other cousin on that side. Didn't have to attack the only people that have been there for me. I was just like, kind of monsters are y'all. I think Scooby-Doo taught us that. Monsters are people,
Well, I don't know who goes after a couple of girls that are Candy and Mandy running around me. That is the most Southern thing ever. Well, hey, I know that tonight was very difficult. We really appreciate you opening up. I think it's important. I know it's not easy talking about this, and I know it's not easy to try and basically convince people that you did not murder your mother, especially when law enforcement has told you that. And there's a lot of people, and it's understandable why some people want to wait and have that final say of, okay, she didn't do it until law enforcement says it. And hopefully that happens soon.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Andrew has also been cleared. I want to put that out there. It's just not me. it's him too. So
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I interrupted you,
No,
Jason.
no,
You're the most polite killer I've ever met. I just don't.
Goodness.
you're fine. But I will say that there are a lot of people who have sent us messages that say they feel for you and your family and that they support you. And we've received quite a few messages of people that said, I thought 100% she did it and I don't anymore. And, tell her I'm sorry for me. And we will continue to pass those along to you.
And I
Say that
understand
you-
the people that were absolutely horrible dragging your name through the mud and then tried to walk it back, being
Yeah.
frustrated with. But some of them, I mean, a lot of them genuinely are people that were just, they weren't being ugly. They just, the information that was coming out, they thought it sounded like you were a good suspect. But then they started, reading into it and were like, maybe this wasn't her. But you do. You have a lot more support than you realize.
And we just hope that, I can understand why law enforcement is waiting to make any announcements. They want to have all the answers because, I mean, because in a case like this, like you said, Candace, I mean, if they don't have all the answers that they can possibly get if they come out with a press conference and they don't have it, it's not going to look good for them. So I can understand why they're waiting. I am a bit frustrated that they won't at least come out and say, hey, we don't have all the answers, because and Candace and I were talking about this, and honestly, you don't know what you would do if you're not in that situation. However, I'm gonna do it anyway right here. I would at least come out and say, hey, guess what? We don't know everything. What we do know is that this person, whoever had nothing to do with it. And then I would just walk away from the podium, like, no further questions. We'll be back later when we have all the information. Like, at least to clear people, so that way, whether it's you or any other case of somebody that's going through the same thing, I just wish that those type of things would be said. I know that they don't have all the answers yet, but they do have some. But it is a difficult job. And I mean, I don't live there, but I mean, I would think that Habersham County, GBI, the FBI, and whatever other law enforcement agencies are working on the case. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of hours and work that they put into this. And I mean, the pressure that they're under. I mean, Habersham County is not very big, and now this is a national story. So I can't imagine the pressure that they're under. And I know, they're working their hardest, they're working their best. I mean, they're doing everything they can, and and I appreciate the police departments that do that. And I just hope that these reports that they're waiting on come back, and when they do get them, I hope they schedule a press conference and immediately come out and start letting everybody know what happened. And not just you, but like everybody, whether they're associated with this case or not, we can kind of just say, all right, well, we need to move on, and then your family can grieve properly.
And I think it says a lot about your character that you've shown them so much grace. I mean, I think we've been more angry towards the police than you have, because I'm like, why are they not just coming out and seeing this? And you're like, they're trying to do their job. It's fine. And also I know, and I won't say their names either because you didn't, so I'm going to be respectful, but there have been family members that have said very, very ugly things about you and to you. And I think that it shows a lot of grace that you did not call them out specifically by name. They know who they are. They know what they've done. But I think that that's really nice that you
Thank you.
gave, you remain the bigger person. I think that says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us. I know the whole point wasn't to, make everybody believe that you're innocent. If no minds were changed, that's fine. As long as you feel a little bit better after tonight, that's good enough for me. And I'll be completely honest, Candace ignores me a lot right now because she's always talking to you.
Sorry, Jason.
But hopefully there's a resolution that's provided soon, and that way, not just you, but your entire family. I mean, regardless of what's going on with inside of your family, everybody's hurting. It's
I hope they do find peace.
People they're just expressing it differently. Everybody's hurting. So hopefully something will come out soon and you guys can move on. But like I said, thank you for taking the time tonight. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you for listening and staying with us. I know that there are a lot of questions that we didn't get to, but there were just so many that came in.
Yes.
So hopefully the majority of them got answered. And hopefully, you can accept what she's saying. I know some people are going to wait for law enforcement. That's fine. But I would just ask that maybe we just hold off on kind of attacking each other, because I mean, I'm even seeing on the groups where people are actually attacking one another on there now. So I think we've kind of gotten out of hand on all this stuff. But regardless, Like I said, thank you. I hope law enforcement comes out with something soon. We appreciate being on here tonight, and thank you guys for listening. That's everything for tonight's episode of Crime on the Record.